Muy buenas camperucos, ¿cómo estamos hoy? Está aquí para contaros noticias y novedades de Battelfield 2042. Bueno chicos, antes de empezar quiero recordaros que tenéis este Telegram llamado Mucho Battelfield, donde hay mucha parte de la comunidad. Tenéis el link en la descripción del vídeo para poder entrar. Deciros que están organizando un evento para hoy, creo que va a ser muy divertido, así que yo me metería a jugar un rato. Yo esta noche, cuando llegue, me pasaré por ahí a ver si todavía está en activo, porque creo que puede estar guapísimo. Bueno, antes que nada, quiero deciros que ha habido esta semana un briefing, que creo que nadie ha comentado nada de esto. Y bueno, vamos a ver aquí un pequeño resumen de lo que han estado comentando Florian, que es uno de los máximos responsables en cuanto a jugabilidad, acerca de los mapas, armas y bueno, y Alexander Formoso, que es uno de los máximos responsables en armas, o sea, es un especialista en las armas del 2042, explica muchísimas cositas y vamos a ver un pequeño resumen. Vamos al lío. Bueno, pues vamos a empezar con unas palabras de Alexander Formoso, que está hablando de las armas, y fijaros cómo se expresa. Dice: por fin hemos completado, ¿no? Con esto yo entiendo que comenta que ya no van a haber más escopetas al juego principal, igual sí que vienen del portal, pero yo entiendo que armas futuristas, siendo escopetas, ya no van a venir. Ahí lo tenéis.
Oh, hello, I'm back. I have pretty good stuff to talk about today, because we're super excited about the new weapons. We finally round out the trifecta of shotguns, and we have a new hot one coming that we'll talk about more later.
Ahora vamos a ver cómo catalogan los dos el mapa. Es interesante cuando dice Florian lo de, sobre todo para avance, y es que es un mapa que yo lo llamo conquista-avance, aunque juegues conquista, un conquista-avance, porque es tan estrecho que parece hecho para avance, ¿no? Y luego como el señor Formoso, que creo que me llevaría muy bien con él porque es que me cae genial, os diría que hace un balance buenísimo del mapa en cuanto a armas. Creo que todas las armas en este mapa tienen cabida. Y ahí os lo dejo.
Focused map with a bunch of areas that are super cool to play as infantry. Plays really well in Conquest and Breakthrough in particular. And I think people really like it.
This map fortunately has a lot of spaces for like multiple weapon categories, because even when you have to cross the river between the two facilities, there is a lot of open area for like sniper rifles to shine, and DMRs have a lot of space over there. If you're playing Breakthrough, before you get to the facilities, like between A and B, there's also like a lot of areas for like long-range combat weapons to shine. And then as soon as you get into like the first or the second cube, then SMGs have a lot of space. Shotguns especially have a lot of space. I think it's a very varied map and everything has a space.
Alexander Formoso hace ahora un balance buenísimo de las tres armas nuevas. Primero habla de la escopeta, luego de la pistola y luego comenta algo muy curioso acerca de la Railgun, y es que querían hacerla al principio de muerte de un solo tiro. Pero bueno, mejor lo veis.
Let's begin with the shotgun. It's the Nordvik S22. It's super strong in close combat quarters. It can load up to 12 shells, which is like way more than the pump action. The reload takes longer to complete, and it doesn't have that many attachments to be available, especially like in the under barrel section and so on. But it comes with like the two types of shells, like slugs and buckshot, and I think it's like a very, very strong option, especially has a lot of space to shine in this map. Then the Nordvik, the PE-125. It's a very unusual pistol with a bullpup design, not very common. And thanks to the increased length of the barrel, then it's a perfect gun for like medium and long range combat. So the Rorsch Mark IV. So this one went through a lot of iterations internally, because obviously we started with the Last Stand DLC version of Battlefield 4 one, the Rorsch Mark I. And that one was like a single fire, charge, shoot, one kill at any range. But when you extend that to like every player can use it, then problems arise. And then, oh, this is so unbalanced. How is it possible? And in volumes, it didn't went so good. So we had to make a lot of compromises. Like, okay, so it became a 2-shot kill, and it's hit scan or not. So it iterated a lot to get the result that we have today. The most interesting part of this weapon is that it's a charge-based weapon. So you have to hold the trigger before the shot actually comes out. And this is effective in the 3 fire modes that you can get by swapping the under-barrel attachment. So it's an array of capacitors, like a battery. And depending on the configuration that it has, you can fire single shot, full auto, or burst. And each mode basically accelerates the bullet at different speeds, so it becomes a proper sniper or an assault rifle or an SMG-ish type of weapon. It's a really good weapon.
Yes, it sounds extremely versatile, basically.
Bien, ahora Alexander Formoso habla acerca de las 2 armas que vienen del Portal, comenta 2 cosas bastante interesantes. La primera es que la ametralladora ligera será un poquito más de controlar para la gente de consola, ya que tiene un retroceso horizontal. Y luego compara estas 2 armas con algunas que ya tenemos en el 2042.
So the A91, it's not a very special weapon. It's like a very average medium range assault rifle. It comes with like the whole variety of attachments that they come in with Portal. But we made some adjustments to it, and I think it's on the stronger side. We don't want to repeat again another like M16 when we first released it and it wasn't as good as the others. No. So this one should be in a much better place. And then on the XM8 LMG, we picked the LMG variant basically because we have a slot to fill there. And since this one, it's an assault rifle that happens to be a little bit bigger and has the double drum configuration, which is like very it looks super interesting. Then we went for that one. It's very controllable. It has like a big magazine, but then it has a little bit of like horizontal recoil, which is harder to compensate for, especially in controllers. So the A91, it's another very similar to like where the AK is currently, which is like, it's not super strong, it's also not the worst one, so it will be usable. Then the XM8 definitely won't be another Avances, like for sure, but it should be very close to where the LCMG is today.
Sigue hablando Alexander Formoso acerca del nuevo tanque, y es que este hombre es una enciclopedia andante, y vais a ver realmente si habéis jugado con el tanque o si habéis jugado padeciendo ese tanque, como lo que dice es totalmente cierto.
Acts as a segue to what we did in 2142, where there was a stationary railgun. So in this case, we have the new tank that has like same mechanic as the Portal one, the charge up shot before it goes, and it's hit scan, the projectile is incredibly fast. But the amazing part of the tank is that it's the first tank that comes with 2 mobility modes. So it comes in the assault mode, where the tank remains the tall profile, and it can move really fast along the battlefield, it can relocate super fast. And then it can lower itself, going to siege mode, where the rate of fire and damage profile of the weapon increases. So it's like a super strong tank. It becomes a little bit vulnerable, especially to like sneaky people using like rocket launchers and so on to take it down when it's in siege mode. But if it can properly place itself, it can be devastating.
Ahora quiero que veáis cómo se le ilumina la cara a Florian cuando habla del cuchillo arrojadizo, ese lanzable nuevo que tenemos en 2042. Y es que personalmente creo que es el arrojadizo con el que más se ha divertido este hombre. Ahí lo tenéis.
It's a weapon, it's very agile, throwable, because we have it in the grenade slot, so you will swap it out for a grenade in general. You have 3 of those. You can, of course, throw them, hit the target. If you miss, you can pick them up. You can also get them back from the ammo pouches from drop players, so it's a very nice throwable that you can use to be on the move in close quarters, throw the knife, go and pick it up, hit the target, go and pick it up, and it's very fun and rewarding weapon. We have a unique treatment when it comes to like the hit sound, for example, when you hit with a throwing knife, and it feels very, very satisfying.
It feels very, very responsive as well.
It is very responsive, yes.
That brings us to...
Ahora es el momento del nuevo especialista, Rashid Zain. Florian habla acerca de él, comenta el arma, los rasgos, todo esto, pero esto ya lo sabemos, así que no lo voy a poner, pero voy a poner un trocito en el cual comenta cómo puede sentir el rival este especialista nuevo, ¿no? Si eres un jugador que estás con el bípode o estás en un sitio campeando, o sin embargo, si eres un jugador que te mueves. Ahí lo tenéis.
Players that will be static will probably not like playing against Zane. Like sniper rifles on top of a building, for example, really strong against that, because if you are on the move, Zane won't be a problem to you because you need to hit a target multiple times. But if you're static, it will take you, for example, a bit more time to either remove your bipod or just stand up in the first place. So Zane will be able to hit multiple follow-up shots, which might kill you. But the primary purpose is to try to get some players out of being behind the cover. So for attackers, for example, in certain game modes where you know what, this position is really hard to shoot people from because it's very well protected, and then you can use Zane to make sure that no one can defend from that position.
Y ahora nos explica Florian el porqué de ese cambio de pin. Sí, de ese cambio al pin de 3D, pues ahí lo tenéis.
Evaluations actually over the first year of Battlefield 2042, and we've realized that with 64 to 128 players, the information that is shared with the ping can get actually lost quite a bit. There's a lot of things that the player has to think about in real time, and things like the location pings, for example, they actually are hard for most players to really understand what they actually mean. And the game is really fast at times. It makes most of those pings sometimes outdated very quickly. So you're trying to ping somewhere, and first you might not know what that person actually means, but that information may not be up to date anymore. So what we've leaned towards is to try to make things more contextual. But also a secondary goal was to make the system a bit more responsive. Before, we had to try to understand whether you wanted to place a location ping or a danger ping, which meant that we actually had to add some delay into the system. So we've removed that delay. Now all the pings are instant, and they will directly place a ping contextually, for example, if you ping a vehicle, if you ping like an objective or something. But also now when you ping an enemy soldier, it will spot instead of placing a danger ping. You can still place a danger ping if you press the button twice, but now the spot will make that information always very accurate and up-to-date. It's not a very long spot, but it will make that information easier to, like, for other players in your team to actually read.
So I guess as a summary, the information of all the pings is just easier to digest, more streamlined.
Exactly.
Y ojo, porque han hecho una mejora en la asistencia de puntería en consolas. Se controla un poco mejor el recoil vertical al tener esa asistencia de puntería. Ahí lo tenéis.
Aim assist and fighting the vertical recoil with your input device, we're fighting each other. We're like constantly fighting each other. So now what we did is that when the aim assist is triggered, then the input that you are giving to the machine, it's like half. Yeah. Well, not exactly half, but it's reduced. So that way, there will be less jitteriness behavior between like what the aim assist is trying you to do and what you're trying to do. So it's going to be like more, you're going to be able to stay on target easier.
Se nerfea el avancis, ahí os lo va a decir Formoso. Y también dice Alexander que el NTW50 se nota mejor contra los vehículos livianos. Ahí lo tenéis.
That's, I think, the most significant one. Then I think everyone will be happy to know that the Avancis no longer has a 4-shot kill range. It's now in line with the other machine guns, so it's not going to be the menace that it is today in close combat quarter situations. So that's good, especially with a new map where there's plenty of space to that. We don't want to see the advances dominating even harder. And the other change is that the NTW50 got a pretty substantial buff against light armored vehicles. Okay. So like the small helicopters or the quad bikes, the Polaris that we launched in the previous patch. So,
bueno, resumen de mano de los desarrolladores, realmente Formoso es la caña, o sea, es increíble. Yo flipo con este hombre. Bueno, lo sigo en Twitter y es increíble. Bueno, chicos, espero que os haya gustado el vídeo. Agradecer enormemente, y no me cansaré de decirlo, a toda esta gente que me apoya incondicionalmente en el canal de YouTube. Sois realmente increíbles. Si os volvéis a suscribir, sois la caña de picaña, de verdad, se agradece muchísimo de corazón, y toda esa gente también en Twitch, sois lo más. Bueno, chicos, espero que os haya gustado el vídeo, dale a like si os ha gustado, a la campanita para que os avise del contenido que voy poniendo, y suscribiros al canal, a este humilde canal, que vosotros lo hacéis muy grande. Vea, camperuzos, nos vemos dentro de muy poco, mucho Battlefield, mucho competitivo.